Good morning, my friends. How's everyone? A wonderful, wonderful Sunday morning here in London suburbs. Beautiful sunny weather out there, very warm. It looks like a proper summer day. So I think we had some rain last night and they talked about temperatures dropping, but there's no sign of that at the moment. And I certainly will go out and enjoy some of the weather in my local nature reserve after I finish my broadcast, which is going to be perhaps a bit earlier today than usual. And we are then like to be having another broadcast later in the day, but not on Destiny. Yesterday, by pure chance, I received some emails from Capcom, and they offered that wonderful free trial of Monster Hunter World, one of the best RPGs that come out of this decade. And they're offering it for 10 days, free of charge. You can access the whole game in view of the DLC release later in the year. So that is astonishing, and it literally is one of the very best games of the decade, and I'm able to play it for free. And obviously I decided to stream it straight away because I could download it and then present it to yourselves as well. And I had a very, very good session last night. It was a short one for about 2 hours, but some people came in, and they were obviously from our community veteran ends, and they sort of talked a bit about Monster Hunter. Deployman was here with us last night, and he absolutely adores the game, one of his favorite games of all times. And I had a lot of fun. I absolutely loved it, from the actual gameplay to the graphics and the narrative and everything at the beginning, the prologue and a bit of tutorial. It was all blending in perfectly and very much having that signature of Capcom. So anyone who played Resident Evil or indeed Devil May Cry will recognize those elements. Always very original, always beautiful to watch, always great to play. I've not played any Capcom games now for a little while, and I was just absolutely delighted to get in and try it. All was very, very enjoyable. The only thing that really worried me a bit was that at the end of my 2-hour stream, I was invited by one of the housekeepers to try out the weapons and to master the movements. And that seemed quite complicated. That reminded me of Bloodborne, or what was the other game? Dead Souls and Bloodborne, in terms of the way the inventory was used, and particularly how you are to master certain moves. I mean, we'll not need all of them once in the combat. We'll have to see, because obviously we are to be battling all sorts of enemies, and particularly the monsters, and I think some of that will be very, very necessary. We have to see. We will be able to master that as we go along, and I guess we can always come back to the tutorial. The housekeeper is going to be always seated there in my room, and I can come back to him and try it yet again. But what I particularly liked was the design of certain characters. I liked my companion, the little cat that follows me around. I love that cat. He is just wonderful. And also liked my other companions. All seem to be, well, actually the aura, the flavor of the game is quite similar to Final Fantasy, I have to admit, although obviously the focus is on those monsters and it's a different kind of world. And there was that sort of atmosphere of that wonderful Square Enix franchise about it, and it was just great to come in, have a look, and obviously play the game. I love the games of that nature, and it's always providing us with a great variety here, because evidently we've not been playing many RPGs, and my channel has been very much focused on Destiny 1 and 2 that is, but nevertheless I always like trying out different games as well on my broadcasts. There just aren't many enough hours in the day to do everything, and that's the trouble that I'm having at the moment. But what I'm really encouraged about is that we are having always some new people coming in. Our community is vibrant and growing, and what's very interesting is that on this channel we don't have people coming and going, like following and then dropping out. Everyone who came here actually stayed, and the vast majority of our community members are indeed participating almost every day. They come in and say hello, talk to others, and even for a couple of minutes. And I'm delighted to see that some of our friends from the US join us as soon as they wake up. We have Jerry, for instance, 5 o'clock in the morning, and we had others also coming in at 6 or 7, and I had one European community member who was also joining us before he was going to work, and that would have been roughly around 7 o'clock in the morning. UK time. So really truly wonderful group of friends who actually made new connections and bonds here to the channel, and indeed carried on playing Destiny and other video games together with others within the community, and also with their own desire to interact even more. I introduced extensions on my channel, and there are 6 of them operating at the moment. I have to say they're not fully integrated, and I think these extensions are not cross-platform, so you may find that they work on your PC. Deployman was helping me yesterday to test them during my broadcast live, and there have been some issues. So if you are wanting to use them with care, because I complained to the developers, and I asked for some further advice on their configuration, because we want all the extensions to be working across all platforms, and therefore we could have the very best of benefits. For instance, Deployman was using yesterday my quiz show, and also the emotes and the live requests, I think, and we were having some difficulties in seeing any of those emotes on display, and we could not use any of the sound alerts and sound bites which was installed. So I have to wait for the developer to come back to me and basically to explain what the trouble is with those, whether we have to do something extra or whether they will work better on PC. I'm not sure, because basically the way they've done them is they go through OBS streaming platform, and as you know, if you're streaming through console Android, then obviously that will be obsolete, because those do not operate on those systems. And I need to see really what the score is, because obviously Twitch is a cross-platform app, and a portal for live streaming, and I will be quite curious to get some answers from them indeed. So let me just have a look at what else is there for me to do as far as the extensions are concerned, because I thought everything was installed and activated properly, but actually it did not work in practice. And I remember sometimes in the past I had similar problems with some other projects, but it all gets resolved in due course, so please be a bit patient. I was just really excited after having a team meeting on Friday that the extensions were already up and running, fully in place and enabled, and therefore I look forward to interacting with my community in such way. We can sort of throw in some of those sound alerts and memes, which I think are enhancing our enjoyment, as long as they're not being used excessively. And also some of the other ones, when people are suggesting to do certain things, having your live request kind of tab displayed on the screen will help, because the tabs will be focused on a certain kind of activity here in Destiny 1. Indeed, people can come forward with suggestions as well, and therefore those can be included. I guess all the extensions are basically gearing for the latest stage of this channel, where we are going to have a very, very large community attached to it, and therefore the actual answering to some of the questions may not be as speedy as one would want, because lots of different comments come in, and you will see that sometimes with the members who are being watched by several thousand people at once, and that usually happens after any channel is partnered with any bigger entity such as Discord or Twitch or Sony or any other. And as you know, this is a new channel. I'm working on those plans, and I want really the community to stay as vibrant, as mature, as energetic as it has been from the first day. And I'm not really keen on having the followers and community members who would be just causing us trouble or coming up with some nonsensical ideas. We want our communication and our dialogue here to be mature and indeed focused on what we liked best, on various topics that we consider or indeed find to be of importance, and those that are giving us altogether some food for thought, and frequently we have more mature gamers coming in, talking about their gaming career spanning back 25 years plus, and then bringing us with lots of different descriptions that are illuminating the way things were in the past. And even yesterday, and I talked to one of the community members, we were really very much in sync with the difference, the fact that the gaming world is progressing rapidly forward, and we quite frankly do not know what to expect next, because it is on one hand down to the developers, but on the other, as we've seen certainly during the recent years, and I would say probably within the last 18 to 20 months, even more so, is the new trend, the new development, where all the companies that are both producing and publishing the games have to be very much in tune with their own community members. And that really brought lots of challenges to those firms, because at the end of the day, sometimes they would like to pursue a particular idea or topic, but they discovered that if they were to be discussing those ideas well in advance and perhaps provide some beta tests in order to find out what the reaction is going to be, that indeed may save them a lot of money in a medium term, and also provide a lot greater enjoyment for the fans and followers. So their community becomes really completely pivotal in that experience. And you had Electronic Arts this week confirming the new strategy, which basically is going to be completely shelving everything done so far, and the new strategy is going to be completely focused on the community that every game has, and the overall interactivity and participation coming from those people who are their members. So every fan, every follower, every purchaser, every dedicated gamer who has been playing Ghost Recon, The Division, Destiny, Anthem, any of the BioWare games, Mass Effect, will find themselves much more engaged in that process of dialogue, and I'm quite certain it will be bringing us lots of rewards, and it will help the developers to, first of all, remain very sharp and competitive, but also perhaps a bit more self-reflective in terms of what kinds of ideas they wish to introduce through a game, because there will be a fine balance between what you can convey to your community before the game is released and what you are just planning to do, because the element of surprise is also definitely of significance in there. And we did see, for instance, with Ghost Recon release on Thursday, the release of the trailer and the initial text response from the industry, because some people are quite keen on being given such status and not being given more, or being brought in, I guess, with a greater description of what is to come. So a lot of that discussion after those releases becomes speculative. There will be, obviously, in case of such franchise which has been around for quite a few years, you will have people expecting one thing and then speculating whether this indeed is going to materialize. So it's quite interested to hear from the guys representing Game Informer. I watched a review of that world premiere. There was the main editor and one of the other senior staff writers, and they talked at length about their own expectations and what they find really exciting and perhaps less interesting. And I was quite curious to see that I think it was the editor made a remark about the need for somewhat fine balance to come from the publisher and from the developer, because with the last game, Ghost Recon Wildlands, they faced quite serious backlash from Bolivia, because the game was basically embedded within Bolivian territory, and although all that was happening in the game narratively was completely fictional, it was taking place in that country. And the fact of the matter is, if you're representing a real country that looks realistic and with its attributes and environment that is easily recognizable, then evidently any form of story that appears to be non-sci-fi will have these auspices of reality attached to it. And that is where the guys from Bolivian government and people representing their Department for Culture were really, really displeased, because the country was being labeled as one of the biggest drug dens in the world. And ghosts, i.e. the special ops soldiers, were fighting cartel in there, and that itself caused some serious discomfort, and therefore Ubisoft did change the entries of the prologue and some of the descriptions at the very beginning, where they quite clearly indicated this is the work of fiction and people have to treat it almost as if it was completely invented, and etc, etc. So I think in order to avoid any form of backlash, or indeed libel, or indeed a ban, which always is a possibility if you pursue it through the right legal channels, they've gone for a fictional environment in Ghost Recon, and everything is to take place on an island that's been invented, which is a bit sort of far away from everywhere, from everything, and they have a large corporation that's producing high-tech equipment, notably drones, that are to be used for kind of malign purposes, and obviously in order to acquire or seize on power and create wars and make money, and therefore Ghosts are sent to that island basically to resolve the problem, or indeed initially to find out what the company really is doing, and then that progresses into an all-out battle stroke war, because the company had hired a group of special operation officer soldiers who went rogue, and they're played by John Bernthal, and he is one of these baddies that will be indeed very, very memorable from what I could gather. He is absolutely ideal for that role, and very glad that they selected him, because he is both frightening and truly menacing. So we need to see what happens, but basically the editor was suggesting that they were basically walking on ice, because on one hand they didn't want to upset any country, i.e. due to the location of the story, and secondly they didn't want to bring too much flack from corporations, because in this instance in Ghost Recon they're focusing on large private company that actually goes rogue with their inventions. And as you know, lots of people who are watching such games will have some concerns that this is unfair and unjust, and providing basically a sort of attitude which is fear-mongering, and there will be a backlash in terms of investment. So they really were a bit apprehensive about this direction, because on one hand they thought needing to be always politically correct in these games was perhaps a hindrance, and on the other hand they also felt that Ubisoft were toying with this idea between explicit realism and something that was purely fictitious, and they sort of felt that going down the realistic route perhaps was a good idea, although in case of that reality certain aspects of the gameplay and particularly the narrative would have to be significantly improved. They also talked somewhat about the need for the story and the action to blend in better. They found that to be one of the major issues with The Division and with Ghost Recon altogether, and they said that after analysing lots of other gamers who were jumping in and playing those games, they felt that the actual narrative was ignored. People just wanted to be neutralising the enemy. They were looking at the body count and the scores, and everything else was insignificant, and I actually agree with that. I did stream The Division here, both the beta for the sequel as well as the first one. We played the first one in view of the sequel's release in order to promote, and I spent quite a few hours doing it with lots of different teams, and that definitely was the feeling I had. People were not interested in the story at all. They really turned the narrative into something that appeared to be then like Battle Royale, and you just race through the cutscenes. They really wanted to do away with cutscenes straight away, and that obviously is a non-starter when you are doing broadcasts, because you have viewers who are experiencing for the first time and you want to draw their attention to the story and to cutscenes and everything else. And you know, it just seemed very much, well, the focal point was the score, getting it done according to a certain schedule, beating your previous times and results and that sort of thing, which is fine, but that's not the only way to play it. And I have to say I had a similar experience this week whilst we were doing Destiny. I've had a few of our community members in the game who are top-notch gamers, and they literally are you know, some of the best in the world when it comes to Destiny results, and they were feeling very much like the cutscenes were hindrance and we had to really move on rapidly forward, and that, well, I guess for some people that is alright, and particularly for those who play the game a million times. But let's not forget, if you are streaming the game in a public forum, you're introducing it to a very, very wide audience. In this instance, I have also my channel restreamed to different platforms, which means people come in from everywhere, and therefore we want them at any stage when they come in to feel really properly welcomed and be given a good introduction. You know, you'll get people, as I said, Electronic Arts are changing their entire operational policy in order to promote their new games through streaming services, i.e. the streamers. And therefore, they will want streamers to be paying attention to what's happening in the game, and they will not want any shortcuts, because in any game you'll have sections where there's more combat or there are many more cutscenes, depending on the game. And there's been a question raised on how all is to develop, but I think there will be some space for everyone. You'll always have the games that will be falling into certain trends and therefore attracting many more customers and viewers, and have others that perhaps will pick up at a later stage but will remain very popular and maybe in some cases even cult or legendary. Remains to be seen. I'm very, very happy with the way things are developing. In fact, the other day when I was visiting the Games Hub in central London, we were looking at some of the displays, and I have to say, watching Horizon Zero Dawn or Monster Hunter World or Anthem or The Division 2 on those massive big 70-inch TV displays, it's just mouth-watering. It is extraordinary. It's just, I remember doing my first game, 3DC, on, at that time, state-of-the-art PC, which had Windows 3.1, and we were absolutely astonished by the quality of picture, graphics, and everything else. Played the game, loved it, had really good story. And when you compare that with the way things evolved in the last sort of 25 years, it is astonishing. It's just sky's the limit. And you really wonder what's to happen next. I even wondered with the development of virtual reality, the Oculus and VR sets that people can get, what this would be like if you played Ghost Recon or some zombie game like Resident Evil, for instance. It'd be absolutely terrifying and fully immersive. And you wonder, well, don't forget, this is a kind of the Ghost Recon, the new one, is so if you are to be doing such games through virtual reality, you are going to be placed in a situation that is very similar, well, to some degree, to a situation that you could have been in yourself if you were doing it in real life. Although obviously the gameplay does not represent the way these things are in real life, i.e. combat or special forces operations, etc. It's just nonsense. If anyone thinks that's the way it is in real life, then just forget it. Definitely isn't. But the actual emotional experience of being an active protagonist will be, and is, greatly enhanced if you're doing a virtual reality, because you are in that reality. You're looking around, you can see all the characters, and you're being attacked, and hear the noises, and you really wonder what sort of emotional impact this is going to have on certain people, because as you know, we're all different. We have our own genetic predisposition to certain kinds of difficulties and stresses, and some of us are more able to deal with them and others are not, and for whatever reason there could be all sorts of factors in there. So I really wonder if you are to be presenting that kind of high stressful environment to somebody who will be enjoying it or attempting to enjoy it to the VR. I think one will have to consider what games are on offer, because as you know, I remember many years ago there were discussions on films that kind of shocked and scared or made people laugh, and at the end the overall opinion was that this was the only intention, therefore they were regarded as perhaps not valuable, not artistic. Horror films and comedies, particularly in the 1930s of the last century, were regarded with huge excitement once it came out, but later on just completely discarded as trash. And that indeed is not the case, because in any form of genre you can have people who excel and produce masterpieces. But coming back to the gaming industry, I wonder whether that will have to be taken a bit more seriously, because at the same time you will be affecting a certain group of gamers with that kind of ultra-realistic gameplay, and also through virtual reality. So we debated whether games can have some effects on people's psyche and their actions and consciousness, and I thought generally in the past that was not really the case, because the games were not particularly realistic. You had poorer quality animation, and you could see immediately there was a degree of detachment between the characters and real life. But I have to admit, after playing some of the games in the recent months, or I should say certainly in the last maybe 18 months, the ultra realism was astonishing. And when you enter the Division 2, or where you are doing Ghost Recon, these are the games on a very, very different level. They're ultra realistic, and indeed they are also training you how to survive in a very hostile environment. And who says that somebody who is playing the game will not be then learning some of these skills which actually can be applied in a real environment, and apply them there and make sure that they are indeed put into very, very good practice. It's something that remains to be seen. And I also think with tactical planning, if you're looking at the way some of these strategies work, you know, there is the element of realism as well. For instance, how do you do patrolling? How do you keep your FOB secured, you know, forward operating base? How do you set up an IP where you're a ghost? That sort of thing. And I don't know. I think we have to replay it by ear and see how things evolve in due course. But the guys from Game Informer were both excited and perhaps a bit frosty. I was a bit surprised because I thought Ghost Recon, the new installment and the world premiere, was indeed absolutely astonishing, one of the best I've ever seen. And I particularly like the fact that the presenters, all three of them, were members of the team and representing the development company, and they were just like really short and crisp, throwing in a few words and then providing us with lots of goodies. So it was really, really good. And also they had Q&A, connecting with the community members who were asking questions on Twitter. It was just the best possible, and that is the way forward. Any other company that is not doing it, you know, to such modules is going to be failing, because it is all about being short, crisp and clear, obviously in sync with the times, and then very much engaged with the community, because we know the vast majority of people watching Twitch channels will want to interact live. They're not interested in watching that again later through archive. They want to talk live. They want to find new friends. They want to have a direct response. And, you know, you wrote some questions on Twitter. You sent them over to Ubisoft. They had that Q&A. They were answering your question. So, you know, everyone will feel appreciated. It's a bit like being in a classroom or being in some other public forum. You raise your hand, you're given attention, you ask the question, you get the answer from the person concerned. And that is exactly what people like the best. It's that new form of direction, it's the new interactivity, it's the new way of connecting with certain people, and that really makes a very, very, very big difference. So I think I'm personally very excited about Ghost Recon and similar games, and we'll have to see what kind of position the industry will take on them as well. Coming back to last night, I was absolutely delighted to play in Monster Hunter World. Deployman is here. Hello, Deployman. How are you doing, sir? Very good to see you. Did you get some sleep? Hopefully you did. I went to bed immediately after I ended my broadcast, and I woke up at about 9 o'clock today, so I had like 8.5 hours of very, very good sleep. I was very, very sleepy and very tired, have to admit. Thoroughly enjoyed my sleep, and you know, felt very, very relaxed and rested. And Deployman says, yes, I did, but I passed out. I was so tired. You know, sir, I have to tell you, I've had quite a few people in, well, the recent months coming in and saying something very similar. And many people watch streams or play games until very, very tiny weeny hours. And I think what happens is it's the accessibility of those forums 24/7. You know, it is something that I guess I experienced a little while back. And how do I put it? You know, when all the financial systems were converted to internet, and suddenly we had the capacity to trade financial markets online 24/7, or where you could, for instance, trade on eBay 24/7, or where you could be watching live auctions on other forums 24/7, and it was the entire experience of that being accessible always that was keeping one's attention, I guess, very much alive, and it did affect the way we operated. Because I remember, you know, before that was introduced, lots of activity would end around 11 o'clock, be it on television or, you know, in real life. Even London, as global capital, had hardly any places open after 11 o'clock at night, you know? People could just, and also, I don't know whether you are familiar, all of our viewers who are obviously non-UK based, we had this dreadful licensing law. And this licensing law was operating since the First World War, since 1914, and was only altered to a degree by Tony Blair government of the late 90s. So we were talking about almost 85 years of that law being in force, and all pubs would be closing at 11 o'clock sharp during the week, and it would be 10:30 on Sunday, which meant that people had to be buying drinks and drinking before that hour. So it was well known as last orders. So you would order within the last half hour, and that also affected the way people consumed drinks and the way they drank, literally on the usual or sort of any other, or on a usual day or during the weekend. And also it prevented people from, for instance, eating at restaurants, certain restaurants, between 1:30 and 6:30. The vast majority of restaurants in London were not open between 1:30 and 6:30 due to that licensing law. and it's just completely ridiculous. And what I'm trying to say is the actual day was structured very differently. You didn't have instant access to everything at all times, and having 24/7 access through various devices today, and also the forums where trading takes place, or broadcasting indeed, is making us wide awake. And it does happen to me sometimes that I have this urge in the when I started broadcasting, I also had a period where I was testing all the different time zones around the world to see what kind of people will be coming in at what hour. But there is the element of coercion. You get coerced and then you get carried away. You want to see this, you want to see that, be like YouTube with a playlist. There's another thing you want to see, and then the time just goes by rather quickly. Time flies by when you're broadcasting as well. It's extraordinary. I really looked back on the last few months and I thought, my goodness, I spent everything. I spent all of my time either broadcasting or preparing for it, or working on the news, or looking at different scripts. And quite frankly, the time just disappeared. And for instance, today there's a beautiful day out there, absolutely wonderful weather, and we have a terrific exhibition on the history of my local area. And I really want to catch the exhibition, so I've got to go there earlier than usual. I've got to go there quite early in order not to miss it, because they close at 4 o'clock, which means this broadcast will be a lot shorter today. And but otherwise, it just the time flies by. And I remember some of my colleagues who are working on the BBC radio and some of the other stations in London. They said, because the vast majority of them are delivered from the studios, and studios are with no windows, they're in like a bunker style facility, and they said you go in there and the day goes by, you come in, it's at night, like early in the morning, and you leave, it's already night when you're departing. You just don't realize the time went by. And I remember also some of my colleagues who are musicians, they said the trouble is, when you're in such work, then when the other people's day ends, notably around sort of mid to late afternoon, our day just starts, and then their day ends like 5 or 6 in the morning. So I guess we have the possibility or the means to which we can access those forums 24/7, and they pose also certain challenges. I know for myself, I've been at my most productive when I could just work all the time. But then I also realized if I do that, I will get very tired at times. My attention span will go, and I feel a bit under the weather. It's always the best to work very hard and then take some breaks as well. And the breaks are very, very important indeed. And also for me, it's a very, very good night's sleep. That's most important. Without my good night's sleep, I can't do a thing. Deployman says, he said, during your stream, I missed out a lot on, so I'll be watching the VOD later. Well, it is indeed there, and I can certainly tell you, obviously you're very familiar with Monster Hunter World, you played it many times. I've just started out yesterday exploring that wonderful, wonderful Konami open world. It's beautiful, it's fantastically well designed. I love the characters. I like when you have characters like those cats in there, a combination of humans and all other creatures. It just really makes it thoroughly exciting and enjoyable. And what I did was I've just gone through the first stage of prologue, and then we got to the base, we looked at the room, and I picked up one of the weapons, which is a massive big sword. And after that I talked to the housekeeper, and we went for a tutorial. And basically I was a bit tired already. It was coming to roughly around midnight here in the UK, and then we tried the tutorial a bit, and then I called it a night and basically went to bed myself. But what I did say earlier also in this broadcast is I find everything beautiful, but the inventory and the moves, which I will be obviously using whilst attacking enemies and all other monsters in there, appeared to be very difficult, and the way you use the controller seemed quite complex. So the inventory, when I looked at it, reminded me of Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and I hope that it isn't going to be as difficult as that. And I guess maybe there will be different ways of tackling the enemies, because the trouble is, if you're pressing 2 or 3 buttons at once and kind of consider what kinds of movements you'll have to apply to certain enemies is going to be quite tricky. Well, that was just my first reaction to what I've seen, but I wasn't really doing the tutorial for too long, and I will obviously carry on with the game because I love it. I've got to be playing it every day, as I have that free trial of 10 days, and want to get through it as much as possible. So that's the idea. That's the idea. Right, so we've come to our Destiny stream today, and we are going to be playing Titan as usual. Human male DRBMiller is playing the character, and let me just bring that character back to it. We see 398. My Titan is actually most powerful compared to the other two. Warlock will require some upgrades as well. Once we come to maybe 400 on Titan, then we'll look at our Warlock that still needs to go up the ladder. Just coming back to deployment, indeed my Monster Hunt stream is accessible on Twitch. It's archived, and I will also upload it to my YouTube as well, so you know you can access it through either the forums. And I didn't go very far, and I just loved it. I thought it was an absolutely wonderful game. I've heard a lot about it, and lots of people recommended it to me as well. Horizon Zero Dawn and Monster Hunter World, I guess, are some of the most exciting adventure-stroke RPG games to come out on console in this decade, and extremely popular. I get very, very many people on Instagram posting screenshots and designing the characters and doing a few bits and pieces, and it's always great to see. It does have that element of you know, social networking. When you see those cats who are your companions, when you see all the other characters, the monsters, all the other creatures, and indeed the characters who are present in the game, you just want to connect with them. And I think what they did get right is when you are having different outfits, like what we have here in Destiny, when you get to the tower or the reef, you know, you get all these different outfits and you can see somebody who's interesting. Like, for instance, yesterday, it's funny, there is this other gamer called Savannah Mermaid, and I had spotted this person several times at the tower, and every single time they spot me, they come closer and they start dancing. And I always think, well, they want to really come in, they want to become a member of a fire team, and therefore they want to join our community. But every single time I go to the PS4, the previous settings are not allowing them to be joined, and you know, and it's happened quite a few times. And I realized this because I take clips of interesting social interactions at the tower. So when I looked at the clips, I could say, hang on a minute, I've already done this with this person several times, but they never joined our forum, they never actually came in. There might have been maybe once or twice in the strikes, randomly selected, but I don't even recall that. And you know, but I like the games that have that element of connectivity, where you will have the means of connecting with this other person. And all the new games are very much like that. You know, the idea of skins and changing outfits, a lot of people think is about microtransactions. It actually isn't. Microtransactions are your collateral, if you think about the concept. The idea is that your characters look funny, engaging, and noticeable, and therefore when you come in, you are going to be wanting to talk to them. And as you know, with some games you can obviously talk to them straight away, you can bring them in, you can invite them, and that is truly terrific. I remember doing Elder Scrolls for the first time, just having a stroll through you know, one of the first maps, and then so many people coming and asking me to come in, and I thought, hang on a minute, I can't really come in, I've just joined the game, I'm just trying it out for the first time, I know nothing about it. But actually, I could have joined in, and I could learn from them. The only trouble is, unless people come from your Twitch community, and you know, or your community you built online, the random players may be just racing. They may not pay attention to the story or very many other bits and pieces, and therefore the exercise of gaming could be somewhat hampered. And I had that here a few times. So anytime I get new people coming in for the first time doing you know, the gameplay live on my channel, I always tell them, first of all, the rules which are here on the channel: family friendly, no judgment, nothing said offensively, no swear words, etc. And the fact that this channel is heavily moderated and the immediate action is taken against any offenders. And you know, sometimes people click on chat, they don't actually read the rules, and they click on chat, they get the rules every single time. So you know, they're always reminded. And the second thing is, I always ask the new participants not to be racing, because there are lots of people watching this channel who are not really familiar with the game. They're just watching in order to find out what the game is like. So if they like a particular strike, if they like a particular story mission, they want to see everything in the entirety, and they want to get to hear the dialogue and all the other interactions which come out in cutscenes. So there's no way through which I would authorize anything like racing, because anyone who's already played the game a million times is not interested, they know it. But doing it in a public broadcast is a completely different kettle of fish. We want people to be watching, we want people to be reminding themselves. In fact, yesterday I played a couple of missions through House of Wolves, which in fact I played just once before, I think on my Warlock, and I don't think I've even played them on my Hunter. So there you are. I was really familiar myself with the story missions. In this instance, I played them on the hardest difficulty level and had a lot of fun, and I'm certain that all the viewers had it too. So yeah, there we are back to Destiny. We are going to be now looking at all the tasks and whatever needs to be done here with our Titan. So let's have a look. Once we jump in, we'll log in first, and then we'll look at our tasks and our quests. Very grateful that Deployman was here yesterday. Deployman helped me with my extensions, and just getting back to Deployman on that. We talked yesterday at length, but you know, I will get responses from those team leaders, people who develop those extensions in due course. They've not responded to me yet, but you know, I'll get responses and then we'll sort them out. I think it's very important for people to know that the extensions are there to be used, but I want them to be fully functional, and obviously at the moment they are not. So I'm not going to be talking much about them before they are really turned into their full functionality or made indeed fully active across all 3 platforms. So we have the destination, that's going to be the tower, but first of all we'll look at our quests. We have this one completed as well. I forgot about that yesterday. Okay, the Road to King's Fall, the Court of Oryx. Yeah, I don't have any runes. The Old Hunger. Okay, strikes, we can probably do that as well. Show strength. Arc and Forge victories, we can do that. Wrath of the Machine. That's not it. High value targets. Okay, that's a possibility as well. This corrupted land patrols. Flame Forged, part of the Strikers of Allah's Challenge. 7 Orb Fists of Havoc, strike complete. Okay, the Crux of Darkness, Age of Triumph, patrols as well. Okay, so we don't have really a great variety in here, but still what we'll do is we'll go to the tower, do some admin, see what needs to be done in there. We'll plan for our next adventure. There we are, ready to proceed. My goodness, the game is very slow today, look at that. Waiting for a little while. What we do want is for our character to get to the level 400. And that is the idea.
Scanning all signals for...
I think what I need to do is...
Ready to assist.
I remember that, yeah. Primary weapon, 2 of those.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, we'll put some in the vault maybe. Let's see what we have here. Final Duty 399. Hand Cannon Her Revenge, Imago Loop, Hawk Moon. Yeah, Monte Carlo needs to be infused. The Hero Formula Sky Travel, Treads Upon Stars. Okay, so that we can put in the vault. And then this weapon we'll get rid of as well. But there was a fault in there, so I need to test it first. approach. What we'll do is we'll just take one of those.
Service normal. Transfer.
The engram.
All done.
And we'll go to Master Rahul quickly to decoy this engram. Let's see what it's like.
What do you need, Titan? Promise me you'll practice with it before you use it.
Cordova is perhaps too weak. 385 thing, and then I can use it for my Monte Carlo. I want to try that Monte Carlo as soon as possible. I've seen Zach early in the week, and he was using it. Sniper rifle. Wait a minute. 390, 390. Yeah, it's not necessary. Okay, so that's all in order. What have we got here? Gauntlet 390. Any other ones? Maybe I have two of these. Crest of Alpalupi 391. Probably can put it in the vault as well. There's enough room.
Always an interesting conversation, Guardian.
Thank you, sire. Fear God, honor the king. Curious to see if I have any space. I do not have any space there. Zol. Mark of the beacon. Yeah, okay. I definitely need that skeleton key, but I'm trying to think what I can use here in order to liberate space.
Beware of the spill, Guardian.
Splicer key, I have one. Void drive. Charged Agonarch rune. Well, I can't really discard anything at the moment. Okay. Change the appearance of your respawn for 2 hours. We'll use that then. So that's fine, and then we can
Checking.
take the key. We can take the pulse rifle as well, but the pulse rifle we'll get rid of. Wait a minute, 390. Ah, that's good. We'll do that. We'll go and infuse. Put 390 on it. Yeah. And that will be with this one. Alright. Super Spiral Flush. We don't have either of those. And what we do want to do is we want to use some Might of Light on this. Still plenty of those. Let me see. Where are they? 383 even. Okay, so I've done that. Let us see what's been unlocked. Hip fire has been unlocked in here. Smart drift control, predictable recoil, penalty to range, shorter range and more recoil, greatly reduced recoil, significant penalty to range. Okay. Smart drift control and aggressive ballistics, more predictable recoil, hands impact, shorter range and more recoil. No, we want that. That's probably the best. Weapon parts we'll need to buy as well. Okay. We need to steal some moits because obviously back again. High caliber rounds. Send it, increases range and accuracy, hard to handle. Increases ammunition capacity. Once the rounds built to stagger targets and leave them reading. The mass makes a weapon harder to handle. Field Scout. Okay, that's probably what we're going to use. Monte Carlo method. Right, we need to buy some weapon parts. So that's what we have there. Goodbye, my friends. See you after another hard battle. Weapon parts we can buy from Banshee. And there we are.
Hello, Guardian.
Weapon parts we need probably, let's see,
Good eye.
5. Weapon character. We'll try Monte Carlo then immediately. Let's see, high caliber rounds. Increases ammunition capacity. Send it. I'll try these actually, high caliber rounds. Can change the field scout later. Dealing damage with this weapon reduces your melee cooldown and grants a chance to fully charge your melee ability with each kill. Okay. So that's fully enabled. And I want to try the weapon immediately. So what we're going to do, we'll do some warming up in patrols first of all. And be better if we had like 398 or something, but still want to use that. Okay. Okay, that's all sorted out. That's all resolved.
Until next time.
What I will do is I'll use that other gun,
What have you
automatic
brought
weapon,
us?
in order to complete, and then I will dismantle that weapon. It's the one I've been testing for Banshee. But you know what? I'll actually pick up another weapon from Banshee in order to test. Because I can do this whilst I'm doing patrols.
Standing bounty for sightings of Oryx.
I keep forgetting really about this, but you know.
Let's see these guns.
It's a Omelon fusion rifle, Omelon Test HC hand cannon, pulse rifle and rocket launcher. I think we'll go for that hand cannon Omelon.
I don't know. Maybe.
And then in here we'll need some special ammunition synthesis.
Okay.
Okay, because I was a bit
Goodbye.
short.
So long.
So long, my friend. I'll see you after another hard battle. Fear God, honor the King. And we'll go now into the orbit. I'm just going to have a look quickly at those patrols, because we have Court of Oryx. Okay, Path of the Defender. We don't need to worry about that. Show Strength. Okay, Archon Forge. We can do that a bit later. High value targets. Okay, on the moon. Dreadnought. We can go to Dreadnought and look for high value targets. So we're going to do that. Okay, Dreadnought and high value targets. Be able to use all of our abilities, and we'll collect some bounties before we depart
Transmission
as
to the
well,
reef resuming shortly.
which we are
Bounty
going to do
posted.
straight away.
Yes, Guardian.
So we have 20 melee
Checking.
kills.
Confirmed.
We need to also cash up as well. So that's primary master completed. We got some reputation for that. And then we can have super kills. We can have Sprees. We can have Cabal. 10 majors and ultras. That'd be useful, because we may get... Yeah, okay. Let me see whether we have any other bounties that we can get rid of. Well, we do have one. Don't need this one. and then we can just remember you can always adjust your bounties accordingly, which is a very good idea if you will be pursuing a particular mission. You get the best rewards with those bounties, and I know that Majors and Ultras we may be encountering as the Fallen will be respawning, and then after those 3 waves you will get some of the champions and some of the majors popping up, and also in addition to that you may have a war breaking out amongst different factions, and therefore there's a good chance to collect some of those as well.
Checking.
So we got the best bounties. We'll be going to Mars, to Dreadnought in fact, to the high value targets. I just need to look at the signs to make sure that I'm pursuing the right thing, so just bear with me. Apologize for the wait. I'm just trying to find out a few bits and pieces about those patrols, so just bear with me. There we are, all done and dusted. I apologize for the wait. I was just having to reload a couple of my information screens, and we are more than ready to crack on. There we are off to Dreadnought, and we will be pursuing those high value targets. As I said early on, we are going to be warming up with some of those, and let me see, these are high value targets. We have them on the Moon, Venus, Mars and Dreadnought. We'll start with Dreadnought because we already neutralized one of those, and then we'll carry on with other 3 planets. So that is fast to complete. It's a very, very good exercise for us to warm up today. So there we are. And we are now proceeding to the Dreadnought. Stand by and then ready to advance.
We really do
That's
visit the
pretty
most
good.
charming places.
I need to equip the weapon that I've been testing before, which is Saris. Go up there. Just want to make sure that the test has been fully completed. So we can do several things at once. We can test the weapon. We can, you know, do some high-value targets, and you know, it's all good. Very good for warming up. But the basic thing is you are doing several things at once, several tasks. Yeah, this is not going to work because the weapon doesn't seem to be good enough for these guys. But you know what? Dark Drinker almost certainly will be. We need to also equip my Dark Drinker with some heavy ammunition. And now we are going to be causing a lot of mayhem in there. So watch this space. I don't get it. Why did he not die? Because he was one of those, no. One of the mages he was. What I need to do is I need to use some of the consumables as well. So we'll use some black wax. We'll use seeds, and we'll use some 3 of coins as well, just in case. And then we'll carry on. So what we do need to do is we need to find that sign which is telling us that we are doing a high value target. So the sign will have like a small star in the middle. This one I want to get... Oh, he's gone already. Okay. Just want to warm up a bit. These guys are cleaning up in here by the looks of it. Yeah, but I didn't get it now with this weapon. Let me see. Okay, that's been completed. Okay. So what we can do is we can put Ornulon on. And this one... Deployment says it's bugged. Yeah, it is. I don't know really. I've tested this weapon already before and just kept going back from complete to, as you could see, it didn't really provide me with all I needed. Okay, that's not the beacon we want. I kept it in there for quite a while because, you know, I forgot to use it in patrols, but to be fair, I wasn't doing any patrols now for a while. So let's see whether this one is making any progress. Oh, the other guy took the enemy. Doesn't matter. We did it slowly but surely. We had a lot of fun. Always interesting. Somewhat close range, right? No, not too bad. Let's see what we are doing with the weapon. Okay, 50% already, so that was very quick. Just looking for those knights. That will do the job. In fact, I want to be playing my game standing as always. So just bear with me and change my position. And actually, what I also want, well, I'll do that in a minute. We'll just test the weapon first and look for that beacon for our high value targets. And we'll pick up something here. If the chest is going to be Deployment's asking, do you know when the new expansion is going to drop for Monster Hunter World? Yes, I do. Just bear with me. I've got it in my diary. I'll be able to tell you in a moment. Okay, there's nothing in there. Let me just have a look at the diary. Just bear with me. I'll tell you straight away. I need to pick it up and have a look. The new expansion for Monster Hunter is called Iceborne. And let me just see. Written down here. Yeah, I've got it here. 9th of September 2019. 9th of September. So that is at the beginning of September. So we still have to wait about 4 months. Iceborne. Iceborne is coming out on 9th of September. So that basically is for PlayStation 4 release. 9th of September is the PlayStation 4 release. And then for the PC, it'll be released either in December or early 2020. And then they also said there's been no word on the price, but for anyone who is the owner of either physical or digital versions of the Monster Hunter World base game, will be able to purchase the expansion separately. And then they'll also have a physical Monster Hunter World Iceborne Master Edition, so it's worth keeping in mind. There will be a physical Monster Hunter World Iceborne Master Edition, and that will include both Monster Hunter World and then Iceborne in one package. So it's actually similar to the releases of Destiny as well, you know. One will be able to buy the special edition, and that's going to be called Iceborne Master Edition. I think they will be released on the same day, 9th of September 2019. Still have to wait about 4 months, and they'll be able to get it. So just to repeat, 9th of September 2019 is the release date for Monster Hunter World Iceborne DLC, and they will also release another special edition that will actually have both the base game and the DLC, and that edition is going to be called Iceborne Master Edition. So really good. Requires the key of Yule. But there is some loot in here as well. Okay, so we picked up everything. Just like now, I'm testing this weapon, which is not really particularly pertinent. You know, for Banshee. Got this shotgun on now. See what I can use it at close range. This is going to be good work. Okay, that test has been completed. So if I go back to it, I can change it to my Imago loop. I think. No, actually, no. I'm not going to change to my Imago loop. I'm going to be changing it to my. Let me see. This assembly require rocket launcher. I don't have another machine gun, right? No. Good. That's very good, isn't it? Where's the other one? There's also near me. No. Managed to use that. God, I nearly got killed in here. This was close. I need to hide somewhere and change my weapons. What am I doing in here? I need to go into that cave in there. Where is it? I just have to hide in there for a moment. I apologize to deployment. I didn't see a message coming in because I was looking at a few things in here. And deployment says, is it going to be new Monster Hunter game or just expansion? Well, on the 9th of September, Iceborne expansion is going to be released. So it's going to be quite a big expansion. It is not a new game, it's just the DLC for Monster Hunter. And you'll be able to buy both the DLC together with the base game in that special Iceborne Master Edition. And deployment says, are you going to play Destiny 2 again when Season of Opulence drops? Well, I had streamed Destiny 2 as well, and I've completed the base game in full. Only had a couple of adventures left, which also polished off recently. But the trouble I have is, you know, adjusting the times. And I have to be still purchasing the annual pass. I've not done anything on the annual pass, and that's something that we'll do. Basically, the idea was to finish the base game with one character on Destiny 2, which is what I completed, and then doing all three characters and everything, the full Monty, on Destiny 1. And I'm getting to that level very, very shortly. The only other thing that I've not done is the Wrath of the what's it called? Wrath of the Machine raid. No, King's Fall raid. King's Fall raid we didn't do yet. Otherwise, everything else has been approached. And the idea is that once I completed everything Destiny 1, we'll migrate to Destiny 2 to a degree and we'll combine the two. So that's not happening immediately, but certainly in the near future. Destiny 2 is played by lots of people, and the reason I am still focusing on Destiny 1 is that it's my channel that streams Destiny 1 every single day. And this is the only channel on Twitch at the moment that's doing so. You know, there aren't any other channels streaming Destiny 1 every day. Therefore, I get quite good traffic, and lots of people are very interested in various bits and pieces I'm doing in here. So actually, it is sufficing the channel a lot better than Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is not as busy, and we don't get many people coming in, you know. And people are still obviously doing the game, playing the game, and you know, that sort of thing. And Destiny 1 people revisit in order to team up, to socialize, to make new friends, and therefore purely in terms of the game selected for broadcasting, it is a lot better one at the moment. But you know, we have to be flexible. Things change. As you could see, for instance, Apex was having 150, 250,000 streamers the first couple of weeks, but the number of streamers has gone to a few thousand recently, although Apex is being, you know, played by so many people worldwide, but they're not streaming it. So, and deployment says, I finished one character and got to the point where I couldn't do much unless I got the annual pass, so that's what I did. Yeah, well, you know, they changed direction, and basically what they're doing is they want Destiny World to be the one that is constantly evolving, and the only way to do that is, instead of releasing DLCs, they will be throwing in annual pass and the additional content through that subscription. So that is basically the way forward, and other companies are taking the same direction. Not all companies, as you could see, for instance, Capcom are not doing it, and it depends on the game. You know, it depends on the game, and it very much depends on whether you are having this massive open world which is constantly evolving with all kinds of characters, or whether you are having a world that is indeed perhaps somewhat submerged in fewer areas, and you have more of a story-based narrative and RPG. LMSTC is asking me about my age, and this is a professional broadcasting channel, so I don't really disclose personal details, and it's quite relevant to what we watch here. So I appreciate the questions, but also please read some of the chat rules and some of the channel rules as well. Diplomat says he's old enough. I would guess so, yeah. I definitely agree with what Deployman says. Yeah, so what I try to say is that we have that kind of division in the community between two different ideas. One focused on massive multiplayer open world games such as Destiny, The Division, and the other ones, where you are having all the DLC thrown in through your annual season. And you have other lot adventure games, RPGs, that will have their DLCs. It depends on. Have a number of people coming here who were very displeased about Destiny 2 base game, and they said, like, we swear to God, we will never buy any annual pass. We don't want to do it because the game was so awful. Well, that's a bit of an extreme view, and they obviously tailored some of the activity in the game, particularly if you had Forsaken, that will be then continuing with the story through the annual pass content. And Deployment says age can be a complicated question and it can get you in trouble. Well, it's quite clear that my channel is not designed for children. So if I, for instance, spotted that there were children here and they didn't really subscribe to the channel rules, then, although this is a family-friendly channel, but it's not actually a channel for children, therefore they would not be having any access to the channel. That's basically the policy. It's just to do with the legal side of things as well. I mean, at the moment, the broadcasting on Twitch and YouTube are not regulated, but in no time you will have some degree of regulation coming in as well, as everything takes off even in a bigger fashion. And I think I personally do welcome that sort of idea, because we get sometimes people who are, well, not here. I get very rarely any trolls coming in, but some other streamers get lots of trolls, and then, if people are not mature enough to deal with that kind of nonsense and abuse, or if they do not know the law, how to pursue such issues, they suffer a lot of distress, and you'll get sometimes, particularly female streamers, getting a lot of those trolls, and then having many difficulties in consequence. And I think this just a bullying needs to be dealt with immediately and effectively, so that those people are basically brought to book and punished. And in the United Kingdom we have laws that are enforceable, and people who are, or who would be attempting to do such things here, would be ending up in prison. But hasn't happened, and I don't have that sort of problem at all. Depends on the channel, it depends on the content and various other things. Depends on the game that somebody plays as well. Some games, particularly PvP games, they attract individuals who are quite unpleasant. And in the recent weeks when I did some Crucible, and I can't do Crucible very well because my upload speed is very poor, I had some trolls coming in, and they said a few unpleasant things. But it's a very, not they didn't come in greater numbers, which is like one person. But it was significant that the whole thing occurred as I was entering the PvP arena. You get that a lot less if you're doing PvE. And I've been also told by some of our community veterans that there are certain games, like for instance Call of Duty, Blackout, and some other online multiplayers where you get more of these guys coming in. But we all need to have our chat rules and our channel policies in order to minimize that sort of thing. Let me think. The policeman says, if you were to tell the streamer that you were a certain age and you're under that age, that's off the stream. The streamer has... Hang on a minute. on the age of the stream, the streamer has to ask you to leave the stream because Twitch rules on that stuff. And we don't want to get Nice Daniel in trouble, do we? No, that's right, yeah. Well, I mean, everyone has to abide by the rules, basically. And, you know, I have my channel rules that are strictly adhered to and clearly stated. So, you know, everyone needs to respect that. And also, the rules are there in order to make all activity as pleasant as possible, which means, you know, we are here to provide the content which is appropriate. That's the idea. Let me just have a look at my weapons, because I just remembered this weapon has been fully tested. Don't need to do anything about it anymore. Put my Magaluf on. This weapon is... okay, the data has been completed. In fact, I would prefer probably Black Spindle on at the moment. Let me just think for a moment what I need still. Well, maybe not, because I do need my sword. So I put Devil Dawn on, and I put my sword on as well. And let's go. So that's all done and dusted. So the task here is basically to look for those high value targets. So I need to look for beacons with the star sign in the middle. Diplomatist, I think you have to give those weapons to Banshee 44, not dismantle them. I did bring them back, but he wasn't actually receiving any, as far as I remember. Because if you see what happened earlier, I had that other weapon that was fully tested, and I was talking to Banshee and he wasn't receiving the weapon. So I think this is the way to do it. I think that's what I was advised by other community members, but I'm not 100% sure. Because I had the weapon I tested on me just before I picked this one up. The one that it was the same problem with this weapon. It said it was complete, and it says that the data was gathered afterwards, so it didn't show the the green kind of box ticked off. But we'll see how it all goes, you know. Oh, he's gone. Okay. What about the rest of them in there? Don't know why I died though. Quite frankly, no idea. It's a misadventure. Okay. Oh, he was powerful. I see. Okay. So that was the reason. Alright. Took a while though. Still we didn't pick up that beacon. Okay. I just wonder whether one of these yellow bar captains. Deployment says, okay, so the way that the field tests weapons from Banshee, you need to keep them until Wednesday and you turn them in for legendary weapons. Oh, I see. Okay. So I need to keep them, and then every single Wednesday I need to bring them in. Alright, no problem. Because I tried that before, it didn't seem to work. So they need to be brought in just on Wednesday. We can always test them again, it's no big deal. I have one high value beacon. So let me see where it is. Up here. Okay. Deployment says, yeah, it's hard to know that considering there isn't a lot of people playing today to tell you that. No, I talked to some of my veterans before, and they said something else, but I've not tested many weapons. I've tested about 3 so far. This was the 3rd weapon because someone actually asked me if I wanted to get all the other weapons. The best way of doing it is back testing, you know, those weapons for Banshee. So that's why I've gone there. I wasn't doing this before. So it's one of those tasks that I still need to be doing. One of my community veterans was asking me to do, you know, tests like on a regular basis, and therefore I considered it. I wasn't really doing those tests with my other characters either. Right, I need to find that beacon. No, that's not the beacon that I wanted. It was up there. Where? Is this the one? Oh, go away. What is this now? So this one's definitely to the left. Definitely that one.
Dropping some coordinates to your ghost on a high-value target. Take them out and I'll even spring for the bounty.
got any no ammunition in there. Okay. Diplomat says a good day to cycle. Thought patrol beacons is to accept. On you don't want them cancel the activity when you hold your ghost out, and it will spawn a new one, but it won't be straight away. Let me just read that again. Just bear with me. I was just reading it off my main display, but I didn't quite get the whole message. Let me just have a look. Bear with me. Deployman says a good day to cycle. Thought patrol beacons is to accept. They don't want to leave me alone, you know, when I'm reading messages. These beasts in there. Hide in here for a minute whilst I'm reading messages. A good day to cycle through patrol beacons is to accept. One you don't want, then cancel the activity when you hold your ghost out. It will spawn a new one, but it won't be straight away. Well, thanks for the tip. We're just after two. Well, another one really high value target here, but I need to first of all get rid of this target. Then we'll look for another one, because I have high value targets on 6 different planets, 5 or 6 different planets. It's quite good for warming up today. That is going to be the end of them. Okay, so high value target is up there. Oh, he's in there. Okay.
Impressive.
Okay, we got that high value target in there. I'll go to this one. We don't want to go in there. We need to look for another beacon. This high value target. Deployment says the high value target patrol is the one that has a star with a ring around it. Yeah, that's right. That is the one that I'll be looking for. I'll use my sniper to see where they are. I picked up one of those, as you could see. and pick up another one. Don't see any of those here. Chest is here, but I need to have the key of maggots, and I unfortunately do not have that key, therefore this is a non-starter. Missed him. Loot. Cajun flakes. Right, so let's see, do we have any? Don't see any of them in here. There. Did any better join there? No? Mausoleum should have more of those patrols, I think. I think this is not a good area. Find another one with that star in the middle. Just another one. Oh, it just disappeared. Alright. Don't see any of those in here either. No. Bit hard to find in here by the looks of it. No. Fortunately, I'm not seeing any of those in there either. Well, I'm a bit tired of this now, I have to admit. Again, that's not the one. Oh, what did I do now? So if I go in there, flag there, right? They're respawning in here for some reason. Maybe we'll get a champion. Pick up the rune. Okay. No, you need to do it in here. Pick up relic. No, I don't want to do it. nothing. Not giving us anything at all. I didn't really give us a message that the event's been completed. Alright, we've done a bit of combat here. Quarter Forex, so we are going to say goodbye to that. Need to find his patrols though. Completed a other bounty in there. Where does it need to go to then? No, I'm fed up with this. I want to do it. Nah, don't want to do it. Don't know where the last target is at the Dreadnought. I completed, I think, the two of them and can't find the third one. We need to see where it is.
We really do visit the most charming places.
We need to find really where that last one is. This is a guild patrol, maybe that will do.
I have scouts on comms yapping about inbound taken. They don't sound too pleased. Get to these coordinates, quick.
Doesn't look like these would be there. It's like a lengthy grind as well. Strange. Looked like the yellow binding was coming back to life. This was a glitch, it's gone. For some reason why. Now I've gone further up. So that is, let's see where. Must be a hole in there, right? Yeah, of course. It's here.
Like that was the last one?
So where is the one that I actually need? Need to find out, because I'm just not getting that high value target in that. Probably need to go back to Mausoleum, which is what we're going to do right now. So stand by and get ready to proceed. Beautiful weather outside. We are going to be finishing our broadcast about 20 minutes because I want to go to an exhibition which is in my local area. It's the history of my local area basically exhibited, and runs until 4 o'clock. So maybe we'll come back later today, maybe not, maybe we'll come back tomorrow. Very, very quiet morning. We had just deployment coming in and nobody else. Therefore, I think I want to be enjoying some of that hot weather. And we'll see, maybe we'll come back later today with a shorter Destiny broadcast. Maybe we'll focus on Monster Hunter World. We'll see.
This ship certainly takes some getting used to.
So let's see, do we have anything in there? Patrols? Well, one of them should be there. Fuel patrol. Okay. No, I don't see any of those in there either. It'd be better off if I got to Mausoleum by the looks of it. Yeah, we do have it in there. Okay. 52 meters.
I'm dropping some coordinates to your ghost on a high-value target. Take them out and I'll even spring for the bounty.
Oh, he wasn't there anymore. That's odd, usually he is. Colossus came in there. Didn't see that Colossus. Well, I'm going to be making sure that Colossus is gone as fast as possible. There's Colossus, look at him. Pleased with himself. One headshot from there should do, really. I did get him, okay. Or maybe he did, I don't know. We want to be getting a high value target in order to complete this, and then we'll call it a day.
Okay, let's go.
Alright, so we'll still mop up a bit. And like that. So we have completed this section of our quest. Our high value targets have been eliminated, which is pretty good. Have a look at the quest list in there. High value targets, there we go. We have Dreadnought completed, Cosmodrome completed, so we have Moon, Venus and Mars left. We'll have to grind that later on. We'll leave these ones on. Well, hang on, I want to see what this one. Harvest 10 Wemsport nodes on the Dreadnought, that's been completed. Kreuter Bane reputation, okay. So we can go back to the tower. What's down there? I'm curious. Patrols. Mine Temple. Wrath of the Machine. Okay. Go back to the tower. Stand by and then ready to proceed. We're going back to base. Back to the tower.
If you had it. Checking now. Whenever you need me again, Guardian.
Back to Master of All.
Cryptarchs? I've neglected my work for too long. Only a handful of those left in the world.
Like the flight, helmet and gauntlet. So quickly we'll have a look. Already way below our rank. $385. Okay, that's not too bad. But you know what? I just remembered I want to try that Monte Carlo and I haven't tried it. Ah, never mind. It's because I was testing this other weapon. Well, no, not really. I need my Dark Drinker. That's why. That is the reason you can't have more than one exotic equipped. And that's frequently a real pain. What I do want to do is want to put that Alpha Loopy in the vault. Yeah, so basically what we want to do is want to enable a bit more space in there. And that mark needs to go. Mark of the beacon, and then Alpha Loopy can go in the vault. That is our second Alpha Loopy, because Crest of Alpha Loopy we're keeping on at the moment. 391, 398, okay. So store Crest of Alpha Loopy. Twilight Garrison is 97, okay. So that's all in order.
Patterns and everything.
Don't need to do anything else. All has been completed. And there we are, we've come to the end. Alright, so hope you guys enjoyed our stream. Hope you found some of the activities and our action of interest. In fact, today was a somewhat shorter stream divided into two sections. Half of it was dedicated to our community, the other to high value patrols. I'm presently trying to complete that quest, which is a lengthy grind with high value targets on 5 different planets. I completed 2 of those today. Well, the second one was completed today. We have 3 left, so we'll carry on with that grind at a later stage. I may have another broadcast later today. I'll have to see what the schedule is going to be like. On the other hand, I may be cracking on with Monster Hunter as well. We tried yesterday with our first broadcast of that game here on my channel, and it was very enjoyable. We had quite a few people quite interested and delighted that Monster Hunter was present here, and we may have maybe a couple of hours of that later today as well. We'll have to see whatever the schedule is going to be like. So I thank you all for coming, thank you for watching, thank you for being with us here on this wonderful, beautiful, sunny, very warm Sunday morning. And on that night, I would wish you all a very, very good afternoon.
Work of the tech witches. But what do the flowers mean? Drive from an extra side front. This idiotic cipher is malfunctioning. You look like someone who's got something worth cracking.